You're listening to Co-op Radio 100.5 FM and coopradio.org. It's 5 o'clock and it's Metis Matters Radio time!
The views expressed and opinions given by this individual, myself, Derrick Whiteskycloud, and their guests, which is my young guest tonight, do not necessarily reflect those of the CFRO 100.5 FM, your cooperative radio network, its affiliates, and or sponsors. Everybody, how you guys all doing? And welcome to Metis Matters Radio on the CFRO 100.5 FM. And I'm your host, Derrick Whiteskycloud. And yes, folks, we are here. We're going to be talking about all kinds of stuff, but I actually have a good friend that called in a little bit about maybe an hour and a half earlier before the program. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to get her on the program because she's insisting that we need to talk about something so important, which I find is very important, is our elders of the community. And her name is Morgan Jacko, and she actually works as in the intergenerational knowledge program and sharing program. So when you start to see her stuff or hear about her stuff, watch closely, folks, because this is something that was important, especially in the COVID times. A lot of our elders are not getting the acknowledgement of what's happening in the community. So I think it's important now. So without any further ado, welcome, Jacko. Morgan Jacko. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Derrick. It's certainly good to be here. And I just raise my hands in gratitude for having me on the show today. And hello, everybody that's listening. How are you today?
I'm good. So let's talk about the program that you are putting on and that's happening in your community. I think it's quite interesting. The intergenerational knowledge sharing program. And how long have you decided to start putting this on? Or when did you get inspired? Did you decide to put this on?
So I've worked in the unceded traditional territories of the Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, and Katzie for the past 7 years, and I've done so held roles where I've worked largely with the Indigenous community, and so that's kind of evolved to my work with elders, and so I chair the Indigenous Knowledge Keeper and Elder Society. And I also I work for Digital Health Circle. And so Digital Health Circle, as I mentioned before in your show, we co-create digital health technologies that promote healthy aging by providing bridges and connectors through industry, health authorities, government, and community to make those possibilities happen. And so throughout COVID, I was thinking just alone with my members, how can I get our membership, the elders, this generation that's almost being left behind right now in this digital world and this very rapidly moving digital world? How can we get them supported that will better their health, provide better quality of life, ensure longevity, for them to live with dignity? And so out of this came also a desire from the elders that they shared. They want to really connect with Indigenous youth more. And so this program, the Intergenerational Knowledge Sharing Program, seeks to address that and provide intergenerational opportunities between Indigenous students and youth with Indigenous elders. And so we're inviting BC post-secondary students, and really, if anywhere nationally is so inclined to be interested as well, I would be open to hearing about those opportunities, but primarily it is for Indigenous post-secondary students to learn and gain a mentorship training to be able to support the elders in the community with learning how to navigate the digital world and technology. So
how does it feel to be inspired? I mean, let's put it this way: when you decide to start this, and now some of the elders have responded back to you. What was their thoughts on this when you asked them? Like, what do you think of this?
Well, a lot of them are very excited and very interested, and it's actually funny because the first inquiry I had since I launched this project the other week was from an elder wanting to participate. So it just goes to show how no matter what you think the needs of the community are, until you really hear their feedback and their voices collectively, that you really know what the need is. And so we'll even have elder mentoring elders as well, and it's going to be a huge project. I'm really excited for it.
So how in depth, or basically you talk about the cultural volunteering, volunteer opportunity. What type of volunteers are you looking for that can help the elders out?
So so all of our training that we're going to be having the Indigenous post-secondary students participate with is actually in partnership with an Ontario-based nonprofit called Connected Canadians. And so what their mandate is to do is to provide free digital literacy skills to the aging adults nationally. So that does also include elders and senior, or elders and knowledge keepers. So that was, I think, a big part of it. And so if people wanted to even volunteer outside of that, we could. And so we just really want to have more of a cultural component and really make those connections traditionally and culturally through the youth and the seniors and the elders in our community.
Now, is the cultural component connected to just the West Coast way, the East Coast way? Is it a combination of I'm bringing those at you, my girl? What's going on?
That is a very, very good question. So currently, it does depend, I suppose, where everybody's coming from. And so we, for example, within less than 24 hours of going live with this, we had reached the Indigenous nursing program at the University of New Brunswick. And so me personally, I don't have a society out that way where I support elders. We have that here in Keith. So it just shows another really interesting opportunity to intersect our people across Canada. So we can have those connections as well. So say for, the Anishinaabe or Ojibwe and kind of linking more with like Haida and Plains Cree, for example, just having that kind of, that range of scope of knowledge sharing, I think is going to be a really meaningful piece to this project as well.
So the training details, what are you looking for? Like, I mean, what is it offered regarding training details for the elders?
So one of the things, especially with me and the elders that I support at IKES, is having privacy utmost, one of the to the highest level that we can possibly have it. So, excuse me, we'll be having mentors after they pass the testing, and also participate in a vulnerable persons count, and just to ensure that we, when we're working with the elders and sending people into their lives, whether it be physically in person or now as it has to be virtually, we want to always ensure that we have that highest level of protection for the elders. And so that part is definitely a major key within this training. And they have actually a whole module just for the security alone. And so that's really good to see. And there's also ongoing support after the training for the youth and mentors to be able to call in and get support to better serve their elders and teaching them technology.
How now the program itself, is it a 1 day long program, or is it half a day, or is it a week? The training. What are they looking for in this, and what can it do to benefit the elders?
Oh, so the oh gosh. Here's the question.
See, I'm good at. I told you I was going to get you here.
So it's delivered virtually, which makes it special and easy to kind of reach all parts of the nation. And so it's delivered in 2 separate training modules. Each are 2 hours long, and then in groups of no more than 15. So we currently are accepting registrations to Morgan at digitalhealthcircle.ca. Also, if you want to visit digitalhealthcircle.ca, there is a registration page there as well. So what will it do to benefit the elders? I mean, everybody knows right now, we're having this conversation by means of technology here. And so many of our elders already have such challenges with social isolation, decreasing health in various areas, on top of a whole bunch of other things that you can't even really speak to unless you've lived it, but we all know. And so I think it's enough, like, elders, what I keep hearing is they just want to be heard. They just want to share their voices. They just want to be connected with you. And it's so important to the resiliency and resurgence of our people. And that's what they keep telling me. So I'm just really trying to find opportunities for them to do that. And I hope this one really works out and kind of echoes.
Well, have you noticed? I know you're bringing this project out, and have you done a certain type of similar project that was more of like a test to see if it is going to be, like we'll just throw the bait out there and see how many people look at it. Typical. As us Indigenous people, we'll just throw it out there and see what happens.
Yeah, most definitely. I have done some preliminary work in the early stages of planning for this project, and a lot of it was consolidating with the elders in my community and really just wanting to know what they wanted and what they needed. And so it was kind of a common thing with a lot of them aren't too technologically advanced and feel that they would better from that, having those kind of supports and knowing how to navigate the digital world a little bit better. And also all of them were just really wanting to be connected with the youth and with one another, and just support each other as a community in this whole endeavor to move and advance our elders and into this new way of learning to, just promote their health.
I remember mentioning to you earlier, I was saying a lot of our, myself, and when I work with the elders in the community, a lot of them actually are saying they've lost touch with the kids, or most of them have, because, even sure we had the COVID times and the lockdowns because they're unable to spend the time with the kids. But even before the COVID times, the elders were losing the connection with the youth. The youth, for some reason, have steered off into other things. And I know, like, people will say, they're caught up in street gangs, or they're just not interested, or not willing to learn their language, or they just don't have this. They'll say they don't have the time. They're too busy doing this, with the cell phones or whatever have you. And I know the elders are still to this day. I'm not talking about just one type of particular group of elders. I'm talking about everywhere. I'm sure a lot of them are actually saying, how come the children are not able to spend time with them? Mind you, on the reservations, the kids are still trying to spend much time with their families comparatively, off reserve, because off reserve, again, the kids are just not there. Now, mind you, there are parents are helping keeping the kids provided with, games and occupying time with them more, like they would normally probably not do as often. But the part that I find that's rather difficult to see is when I see a youth turn around and say, "Oh, Grandma, I'll talk to you later about that. I got to go see my friends." Or if they do have a question, they ask mom and dad. They're not asking Kokum or Mosham. And yet Kokum Mosham's right there, but they'll ask mom and dad. And then they'll say, "Well, ask Kokum. She knows more." "Oh, no, I just want to ask you. Like, what happened? What happened? What do you think what do you think they can do to learn?" Even though there's that technology, because we do have a lot of elders out there saying, "I don't even know how to start this thing. What do you do?" Now, I remember the first time, years and years ago, my wife used to say to me, and my wife, she's 68, and she used to say to me, she goes, "Oh, what if I don't want to blow it up? I don't want to make it go, like, if I touch it wrong, it's going to go, and that's the first thing that an elder will have, for fear they're going to blow it up. What would you do? How would you respond to that?
Or messing with the real funny and just being thrown. No, I think it's really trying to change the way, like you said, that this generation is now, and even my generation as well, very more heads down into any type of technology, even having multiple devices open simultaneously and doing different things with all of them. And I think there's a certain healthy level of it, and sometimes some people can maybe not maybe use it too much, but then there's people that don't even know how to use it, where not knowing enough is also can be unhealthy. Not so much being unhealthy, but certainly not have as many pathways created to health and health services, certainly. So I think just getting the kids with their heads out of their phone, or at least getting one of their elders next to them with their heads in their phone to teach them something, or
just to show them how to use it. Yes.
Yeah.
We got Kendra in the chat room, and she says, "Oh, she's awesome at guiding the elders." She's talking about you. And she says, "Some of the elders are on the social media now. We need to get the rest on social media to make the connection." And she says, training for the elders for social media. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, most definitely. It's like I said, having this whole project, the Intergenerational Knowledge Sharing Program through DHC, in partnership with Connected Canadians, and also the Indigenous Knowledge Keeper and Elder Society. It is very important to get them familiar, or the ones that are interested, getting them familiar with social media, just as a way to stay more connected with one another. Things that are simple, which, I mean, a lot of social media can be for the most part, but then also equipping them with the knowledge and the empowerment to be able to recognize certain frauds, and just with always that protection piece in mind, just because them navigating this whole new world, they're going to have to use different cautions and things like that they would normally have to do in a non-digital world. So as long as, I think, if we're supporting them in every capacity possible in all terms of technology world, then, oh, I'm so sorry.
It's like, oh, it's a dog.
Then,
that was not an elder barking, That's...
No, that was my dog. And then, I lost my train of thought there. So.
That's okay. That's okay. No problem. What we're going to do, share, folks, I'm going to let you know exactly what we're discussing. It's called Intergenerational Knowledge Sharing Program. And it says, are you passionate about helping Indigenous knowledge keepers and elders within your community? Are you looking to add some volunteer experience to your resume, scholarship booster, and to give back to the community? Give Health Circle, the DHS, has partnered with Connected Canadians to bring Indigenous post-secondary students a 4-hour online delivered certificate program free for participants. Following the training phase, students will be paired with an elder within the community to support and enhance their digital literacy skills. Each group of the 15 confirmed participants will undergo a total of 4 hours of Connected Canadians remote technology mentorship training to initiate the process of becoming an Indigenous mentor to aging members of your community. Participants will be required to undergo a vulnerable person's check paid by DCH and have a laptop or computer, and to be available for 2 hours of training over 2 days in mid-December 2020. That's mid-December, folks. That's beginning that's almost close to Christmas.
Soon. It's very soon.
What do you want for Christmas? I want to be a mentor. The training details are Connected Canadians provides free digital literacy skills to seniors and elders across Canada. In your exciting mentor role will be provided with the necessary training to support elders learning how to use technology and obtain a vulnerable person's check, valid 2 years, a $50 Walmart gift card provided upon successful completion, opportunities for cultural connection and traditional teachings from the elders, volunteer hours, letter to submit with your next bursary or scholarship application, and more. Well, I'll tell you one thing, folks. If you need to learn, take this course because you get to go to Walmart.
It might not be a Walmart gift certificate, Derrick.
No, I'll tell you why. Because anybody that lives anywhere across Canada, when there was a reserve somewhere, there's always a Walmart. It's mostly a hangout. So that's me. That's typical. What are you going to say?
I just want to say thank you again for sharing that and reading all of that. And I'm just very happy to be able to do this work. And the students that I'm already getting in response to this have been so far some of the most remarkable people that I've met. The amount of passion and knowledge that our young people are so thirsty for, and wanting to learn and create policy and change and be leaders is just so remarkable in this project. And it's something that I never really considered that I would experience. And so experiencing it is not only surprising, but very, very heartwarming. So
well, basically, I will say this. I want to say this before I forget. Due to high registration, okay, the deadline to register, folks, has been extended to December the 7th, 2020. Now you've got, this is the 18th, so you got up until until December the 7th. But don't put it off because we're known to forget.
Yes, we are. Yeah. So we have had high registration, and originally our registration deadline was for November 27th, I believe it was, but now it has been extended to, in fact, December 2nd. So we're actually going to be rolling out more than one group, more than one cohort.
Yep.
So,
Now-
but yes, seats are still limited, but we're trying to accommodate everybody.
Well, there's always a seat for an elder.
Oh, of course, of course.
So if anybody wants to contact Morgan Jacko, she's the one that's coordinator, was putting this thing on. I'm going to ask you this question. What made you decide? I mean, how did you get inspired to do all this? I mean, where does it all come from?
Yeah, actually, if I'm being quite honest, it's funny you ask that. So I grew up, in Edmonton, Alberta. I'm from Cold Lake First Nation, and so with many of people in my generation and all of our Indigenous brothers and sisters, there is a lot of intergenerational trauma and things like that in various people's backgrounds and stories and families, and so I myself had a very particular upbringing. And so one of the things though that did stick was my mom. She always said, you just respect your elders, and he knows too, a lot of the things she taught maybe was questionable, but this was the one thing that on here that was good stuff. And so I just learned about the elders, and when I met I don't feel that I could do to repay what I get from them. But we're all just so special and wonderful and have gone through so much and just deserve our honor and respect and to be served. So that's what inspires me to do it.
Well, you know what? When like I've always been told, when one starts a story, one creates something, it's no longer yours, but you're giving it to others, and others will be using that. So you're passing your future, you're an elder in training. So, okay. So that's what you are. You're an elder in traiing. So basically what you've been inspired by from your mom, and then the families before her. So you're taking that, you're bringing it out there and you say, you know what? There needs to be an outreach, and an outreach is not always going to a hospital. An outreach is not always going to a center. An outreach is actually having to say, we need you to work with us because we are missing you.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's a good thing. And basically, folks, if anybody wants to reach Morgan, she actually has a Facebook page. So you can look up Morgan Jacko, Jacko, and you can make her a friend on Facebook, or you can contact her. It says here, Morgan at digitalhealthcircle.ca. That's digitalhealthcircle.ca. And let's see here. And it's also, you can go to my webpage, folks. You can go to my Facebook webpage and have a look. It's on the wall. And also on her page too. And also, if you want to go online, you can go to the website, digitalhealthcircle.ca. That's the website. Again, if you're interested, want to be part of it, Kendra, hint, you can do the same thing. Jeanette, you're in the chat room. I see you guys. Anybody else that's in there wants to participate, be part of that. Again, it's worth your while, folks. So I'm putting the feelers out there. Those are the local.
Well, again, thank you so much for having me on and being able to share this amazing opportunity. I know for myself and on behalf of the elders that I serve, we raise our hands in gratification and appreciation.
No problem. You're wonderful to have you come on. So I'll let you go, my dear. You have a great night, and we'll be sharing folks out. So you guys want to look up Morgan Jacko. She has a lot more than just this. She's got a lot of experience, a lot of kind of stuff.
Listening to people.
Yeah, she's not just doing one thing. She's got a lot of things to do because she says she works 18 hours a day. I don't get no sleep. The dog keeps me awake.
Exactly. I mean, I sleep enough. I rest enough.
Yeah.
I've got the power and the strength of the ancestors to.
Well, hey, you gotta have power and strength of the ancestors. That's how it works. What can I say? Oh well. Crazy stuff. Anyways, folks, we'll be right back. You guys listen to and watching Métis Matters Radio on the CFRO 100.5 FM. Thank you, my dear. And listen in or step into the chat room and see what we're doing. We'll be right back, folks.
Thank you.
Honey! I really wanted a coffee. Where are you? You've been there forever. Come on. You know what? You think you're the boss. But I'm the boss here. Derrick will be right back after he gets my coffee.
Vancouver Co-operative Radio is an innovative, non-profit community radio station with a mission to produce creative and engaging programming for communities whose voices are underrepresented in the mainstream media. We need your financial support to help us achieve this mission. By donating today, you will help us to continue providing access to training and equipment for over 300 volunteers who produce 140 hours of original programming in over 10 languages. Since 1975, we've celebrated the rich cultural diversity of the Greater Vancouver area through our arts, music, and spoken word programming. Please support alternative community-based radio. You can donate today by visiting coopradio.org or calling 604-684-8494. That's 604-684-8494.
As proud members of our tribe, we hold many things sacred, and nothing is more important than our kids. But when we smoke around them, we put them at risk. Secondhand smoke causes low birth weight babies, sudden infant death syndrome, chronic ear infections, coronary heart disease, pneumonia, bronchitis, emphysema, asthma, and other respiratory diseases. For our kids to join in the dance, we have to hold them sacred. When you smoke, don't do it around them.
We're going to play a song, folks, and that's from a good friend of mine. It's actually he just sent it out to me just now, about the day before, and the song is called Big Show, and his name is Lucien Spence. Here's that song, Big Show.
To the big show, we're gonna bring this country sound to your town. On the road to the big show. Hey, bus driver, don't you put that pedal down. The motor call says we're all sold out in Austin. Memphis now. Gotta make good time, 'cause there's no time left to lose. We're on the road to the big show. Yeah, we're kicking up some dust in this on tour bus. We're on the road to the big show. Way on down, we'll be the best of us. Got a voice like thunder rolling through the valley, and a steel guitar that can almost make you cry, and the bass and drums can make a quiet boy get rowdy. That's just what we're gonna do tonight. destination. 'Cause we put 1,000,000 miles in the rearview mirror. It took half our lives to be an overnight sensation. And who knows just how far we'll go from here. We're on the road to the big show. Gonna bring this country sound to your town. We're on the road to the big show. Hey, bus driver, better put that pedal down. Hey, bus driver, put that pedal down. Oh, yeah. Woo!
Wow. Lucianne Spence, that song's called Big Show. Oh, wow. When I heard it, I'm not just through the whole thing. I just heard just a few seconds of it and went, that's going to be a hit. So, Lucianne, keep up the great work, my friend. You did a wonderful job. Thank you for sending that to us on CFRO 100.5 FM on Metis Matters Radio. I'm your host, Derrick Whiteskycloud. And yes, earlier this evening, we had a great guest talking about wanting to work, has been working with the elders in the community. And so she's got a program she started. Her name is Morgan Jacko. So if you actually want to contact her again, digitalhealth.ca, it's worth Morgan at digitalhealth.ca, and it's worth your while to sit down, and especially when you want to learn to work with the elders. Anyways, we're back, and we got some columns to talk about tonight as well. We got a few more things. We actually have been talking about Louis Riel. Last week was Louis Riel week, and a lot of people were celebrating Louis Riel Day, and it's been busy. I mean, it's wow, it's phenomenal. So tonight I want to talk about a few things too, because right now, ever since we talked about the exoneration of Louis Riel, there's been a lot of tension from the Manitoba Métis Federation and the MNC. I mean, really, folks, they have been a tension because they don't want the exoneration. And yet all of us across Canada want Riel exonerated. Now, why? Gee, most people always said it's about the money, right? Well, anyways, what I want to do is I want to talk about another column here, which is the tensions that remain between the MNO and the MNC. That's the Métis Nation of Ontario and the MNC, Métis National Council, but self-government moving forward. Now, this is actually editorial done November the 10th, 2020. And the person that actually did this editorial is Sherry and Noreen, and that's the local journalism initiative reporter. The Métis Nation of Ontario President Margaret Fro said the Métis National Council is continuing its ongoing dysfunction at the national level, but the MNO is putting its Ontario Métis citizens first at its works towards self-government. In the MNO's virtual and annual General Assembly held this past Saturday, Fro used a portion of their 45-minute opening address to chastise the MNC for canceling its annual general meetings and not holding Board of Governors meetings for 2 years, and for President Clement Charchet's decision to step casually back in and out of the role whenever it suited him, and Manitoba Métis Federation President David Chartrand for occasionally assuming the role of national spokesperson, although such a position does not exist in the MNC governance. So in spite of the politics and the dysfunction of the Métis National Council, we will continue to call for change, but to be very clear, we, the Métis Nation of Ontario, will always stand up for and stand behind our historic communities and all of our Métis citizens here in Ontario, said Fro. What constitutes a historical Métis community and who constitutes a Métis citizen in Ontario has been an unresolved bone of contention between the MNC and MNO for a number of years. In 2018, the MNC at its annual General Assembly put the MNO on 1 year probation for not applying for the definition of the Métis adopted by a General Assembly in 2002 and for attempting to extend the boundaries of the Métis homeland. Now, Then this past January, Charche sent a letter to the MNO suspending it, saying the MNO had yet to bring its citizenship criteria into line. Fro declared Charche could not make the decision on his own to suspend MNO. The MNC and the MNO intersect on only one historic Métis community in the province, and that is the descendants of the half-breeds of Rainy River and Rainy Lake, who collectively adhered to Treaty 3 in 1875. Fro said that is, as of September the 30th, the MNO registry had 23,161 citizens. A review had confirmed more than 75% of those citizens can trace ancestry back to the Métis roots as per MNO's citizenship criteria, and there remains about 23% of the files that are not complete and therefore don't yet meet the MNO's citizenship criteria. Now, the registry is at heart the MNO's path to self-determination and self-government, said Fro. In 2019, the MNO signed a Métis government recognition and self-government agreement, the MGRSA, with the federal government, and that agreement mandates the MNO negotiate the implementation of its inherent rights with Canada on behalf of the Métis communities represented by the MNO, said the MNO's legal counsel Jason Madden on his AGA address. The Métis Nation of Alberta and the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan have also signed self-government agreements with Ottawa. The MNO, the MNA, and the MNS met in March in Edmonton as a tri-council to focus on Métis self-government in Canada. Do not underestimate the magnitude of that event. Not only was that event a celebration of our three governments signing the first ever and only Métis government recognition and self-government agreements, they are the only ones that exist with any Métis governments in Canada in the world, said Fro. Now, to further the MNO part in achieving self-government for the Métis citizens in Ontario, the MNO has hired a director of self-government strategy. Brian Black took on the position 2 months ago. In a video, Black said implementation agreements with the 9 MNO regions were being worked on and would result in regional implementation committees and regional work plans being formed, and this work was all focused on moving the self-government agreement forward. Now, the Constitution is being developed by the citizens for the citizens, said Madden, and will be ratified by the citizens through the government through a province-wide referendum. The federal government has promised to introduce legislation to put the MNO self-government agreement into legal effect in the spring of 2021. In a video message, Indigenous Services Canada Minister Mark Miller confirmed his government's commitment to work with you on issues that matter most to the Métis Nation of Ontario. Madden said legislation will go forward whether or not MNO has finished its self-government consultations or constitution work. Madden said also the MNO deliberately negotiated for the legislation to be passed without the MNO completing its work in case there was an election or a change in federal government, and the honor of the Crown applies to the implementation of the MGRSA. So the Liberal government is going to do it eventually, but the legislation is more delayed than we hoped it was, said Madden. And that was Sherry Noreen, and is a local journalist that actually wrote the story, funded by the Government of Canada. So, interesting, eh? So tensions are here, folks. Things are not happening as most people expect it to be. Now, I was actually on the BC Métis Federation's page, and let's talk about. Let's see here. We'll go over here. Okay. That's crazy. I touched it. That's funny. Okay. Let's do this here. Oh, I like this one, folks. I like this one. It's called Métis Rights Matter, Why Louis Riel Needs to be Exonerated. I love it. Métis, my God, Métis Matters Radio, Métis Rights Matter. Written by George and Terry Goulet. We are independent Métis historians, authors, public speakers, and advocates for justice and equal rights for all Indigenous peoples from sea to sea to sea. Among the books, chapters of books and articles that we have written is our 1999 book, The Trial of Louis Riel, Justice and Mercy Denied. Louis Riel was put on trial and executed under a 534-year-old English statute for high treason. A 534 old English statute. This because they labeled him crazy. They labeled Louis Riel crazy. So if you're labeled crazy, that means that they can do whatever they want with you, and you were not allowed to speak for yourself. Among other matters, this book provides a critical legal analysis for the charges under this archaic law and other statutes and case law. The conclusion from our fully documented extensive research was that at the time of his trial, the charges under that ancient statute were inapplicable in Canada. Consequently, Louis Riel was wrongfully charged, wrongfully tried, wrongfully executed. In order for Canada to rectify this travesty of justice, Louis Riel must be exonerated. That's how I would believe it. George is a retired lawyer and has a Master of Laws degree, majoring in constitutional law. And Terry is a retired legal editor of an international legal publishing firm. Now, a coalition has been formed, the Métis groups in Quebec, Manitoba, and British Columbia, calling for federal government to exonerate the iconic Métis leader Louis Riel. Among these organizations is the Union Nationale Metis du Saint Joseph de Manitoba, founded in 1887 by among others Louis Riel's brother Joseph and George Goulet's great-grandfather Pierre Delorme, who had been a member of the Louis Riel's provisional government. George's great-uncle was the Métis martyr Alzire Goulet, who was stoned to death in 1870 for his involvement in the Red River Resistance. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Now, to go further yet, there's more. Okay. Now, let's see here. I'm going to go for, opinion. This was written in the Anishinaabe News column, and a fellow by the name of Peter Globensky, who actually did an opinion column called "The Exoneration of Louis Riel is Long Overdue." Recent media reports have indicated a resurgent interest among Métis leaders in insisting that the Canadian government right a long-standing wrong. Now, the president of the BC Métis Federation and the Manitoba-based Union Nationale Métis, Joseph de Manitoba, along with the prominent Montreal City Councillor, held a media conference demanding that Louis Riel be exonerated. The media conference was most like, the media conference was most timely. It was 135 years ago this week when Riel was killed by Dominion government, hell bent on removing his major irritant to its ill-conceived plans. Now, some of you will actually have read the word Dominion government. Now, that is because we were called the Dominion of Canada, not Canada. So the Dominion was divided into two parts. Upper Canada, which was Ottawa up, and Manitoba down was the lower part of Canada, Lower Dominion. Louis Riel is a Métis and Canadian hero, and he championed the recognition and protection of the culture and linguistic rights of the peoples who populated the prairies long before the newly formed government of the Dominion of Canada decided to resist without consultation to acquire the lands occupied by these original inhabitants, and leading the resistance against Macdonald's carelessness, unilateralism, Riel was able to negotiate and usher Manitoba into Canadian Confederation with the rights of Métis, Indigenous, and French Canadian inhabitants recognized and protected, at least on paper. Many have successfully argued that the fruition of the recognition of those rights of the Métis community is still very much a work in progress. Successive national governments have not only ignored them, but have actively violated those rights, for which arguably Riel paid the ultimate price, murderously executed by a government bent on setting a score. Wrongly charged, wrongly convicted, wrongly executed, the aforementioned Métis leaders are calling for complete exoneration of Louis Riel, but not all Métis leaders are in agreement. Bolstered by the arguments by the Métis lawyer, Jean Tillett, the Manitoba Métis Federation has been missing in action and has consistently opposed this long overdue exoneration. Now, their position has been captured in Tillett's book, The Northwest is Our Mother, where she makes the following claim. Whether called exoneration or pardon, such an act is one of the extrajudicial clemency. It is a government grant of political expediency. It is never about justice or mercy. Clemency is never a statement of the accused innocence and always implies guilt and forgiveness. The government would be exonerating itself, not Riel. That is why the Métis Nation has rejected all calls for a pardon or exoneration. In their opinion, it was Canada that committed the crime of hanging Riel. As one of the Métis Nation's legal scholars, Paul Chartrand, put it, the hanging of Louis Riel is a stain on the honor of Canada, and let the stain remain. Well, I disagree. Number one, there are two meanings of the word exoneration and pardon. Pardon does not always mean what they are saying. Pardon means if you have a pardon, that means you did something wrong. Okay? I know prison stuff because I worked for the Indigenous First Nations pretrials. If you're exonerated, that means you were never guilty. That means that they would remove all that historical issue from the history book, that you were never a terrorist by any means, and that will be removed. That is not considered as a stain. It still considers a stain anyways, because you exonerated them, right? This is the problem that most people are doing. They're believing what they want you to believe. And I was always taught, when you're exonerated, the stain is still there, because Poundmaker was part of Riel's resistance as well. He was helping at the beginning to work with Riel, but they put Poundmaker in jail too. But it took them all the years until a few years ago they exonerated him, because he was never ever creating an attack on MacDonald. He was resisting, and he was working alongside, because he too, his people were getting attacked by the cannons and the Gatling guns. So these people are not thinking for themselves. They're not remembering. They don't want to remember the history. All they want to know is, oh, we don't want to do this, because if you do that, that means that we don't get no more money. And that's over money. Come on, Tillett, open your eyes. It has nothing to do with what you think. Tillett's arguments are troubling, and not simply because they appear to be sanctimonious, self-serving, even petulant. We're all familiar with the greed and racism that drove the Dominion government on the day to execute Riel, although every dog in Quebec barked in his favor, as MacDonald so ignorantly put it. And yes, Chartrand is correct that this will always be a red stain on the honor and history of our country. So was the dishonor and shame of our federal government brought upon itself for catastrophic legacy or residential schools, or for humiliation and forced removal of Japanese Canadians from their homes during the Second World War. The governments of our day admitted to those wrongs, apologized for them, and began the process of compensation, while supporting other initiatives like the Race Relations Foundation and Reconciliation process. This is what restorative justice begins to look like in it all its human fits and starts. So different from the professional pain of victimhood in which Tillet's arguments appear to wallow and from which they advocate. That position is niggardly only one and ill serves the ostensible cause of the Métis Nation. The following is one definition of exoneration, italics, my own. Exoneration refers to the court taking back a defendant's criminal conviction, vindicating the defendant will be the official absolution of a guilty verdict. There you go. Exoneration requires the reversal or a criminal conviction through a display of ignorance, a flaw in the original judgment, or other legality. In short, exoneration is an action undertaken by the wrongdoer, not by the person to whom he wrong was inflicted. It is a judicial exercise in righting a wrong and owning it. However, in two brief sentences cited above, Tillet conflates the exoneration, pardon, and clemency into a common meaning. As a lawyer, she should know better. And I agree. She should know better. I worked in the courts. Okay? A formal apology and an admittance that Riel's hanging was tantamount to an extrajudicial execution. A complete exoneration coupled with a proposal to make Louis Riel a father confederation would be a far more constructive way forward than the pious, ill-serving position of those individuals and organizations who wish to ensure that the red stain to which they justifiably refer to remains a conspicuous crutch that is forever indelible. And the thing is that Peter Andre Glebensky is a former senior policy advisor on the Indigenous Affairs in the Office of the Prime Minister and retired as CEO of the Canadian Council of Ministers of the Environment. As you see, as you hear. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Anyways, we're going to call this a night. Thank you guys for listening into Métis Matters Radio, and I'm your host, Derrick Whiteskycloud. Thank you guys for being in the chat room, and pretty soon, in the next, I'm hoping 2 weeks, I'll be back in the Facebook too as well. I'm actually, like I said, I'm actually on in the YouTube live because, it's a long story. Facebook made a claim that I said something, did something on video, and then they basically put me in Facebook jail for a whole month. So I'm going like, you know what, guys, I'm not worrying about it. I'm gonna go to YouTube and still do the program. So those are able to make it through, watch it. If not, I'm gonna play. This is gonna be recorded anyways, and you guys will get to watch the whole program. Thank you guys for being and part of it. Appreciate it. And we're gonna be going out. Let's see here. Well, we went out with the beginning of it. And we're going out with the ending of it. Marcel, Buffalo Polka. Have a great one, guys. Kwapitanina.